listening to Alan Cochrane and Emily Dean. Who the hell are they? Where's Frank Skinner? He's off. Absolute Radio.
You're listening to Absolute Radio. You can text us on 8 12 15. You can follow us on Twitter using @FrankOnAbsolute. I'm Alan Cochrane. Frank Skinner is away. He's not on holiday. He's decided to single-handedly remark every GCSE English paper in the country. So, yeah, he's not with us today. That would be awesome, wouldn't it, if he did that? Anyway, I'm joined by the wonderful Miss Emily Dean. If I knew how to press the button to get your jingle going, I would, but...
Well, you're not the first person who said that.
Maybe I will learn the skills of the screen and press that button at some point today. And also, Steve Hall.
Good morning.
Morning.
I don't have my own jingle.
You don't have your own jingle, but you're a very welcome guest.
I invent my own jingle. Steve Hall, the charges were never proved.
I love that. Steve's looking quite Blur fan today.
Well, we've chatted about Blur, haven't we, already? We've chatted...
I wasn't listening.
Oh, he's a big Blur fan, I think that's what I'm saying.
I'm mildly obsessed with Blur, yeah. So I'm delighted that you sensed that in the wardrobe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They overlap on the Venn diagram of the polo T-shirt, if nothing else.
Alan's gone a bit bloodhound and pickup truck this morning.
What does that mean?
The check shirt.
But it's still a Fred Perry, isn't it?
It is, yeah. We're allowed to say that, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure we are. Well, never mind that, Alan.
I never got my free trainers when I was angling for free trainers. But maybe now I'm in the hot seat, the trainer delivery will take place. Anyway, let's move on. Yes.
If only a member of the royal family had done something ridiculous this week to give everyone something to talk about.
What a way to kickstart the show! Are we gonna do this?
I'm going straight in there.
Go for it.
I'm going straight in.
What's your take, Emily Dean? I love it.
Well, it's been a bit of an incident. I think it's fair to say he's had this week. Prince Harry, we're obviously talking about. The first thing I thought, Alan, was that if his best friend is apparently called Skippy.
Is that...
Now, if you're going to go on a holiday with someone called Skippy, yeah. I don't think Skippy sounds like a reliable moral compass.
No.
A bit like being friends with someone called Spider. It will generally end in tears.
I think he only brings Skippy around in case, if he disappears in the outback, Skippy immediately runs. He hops off to get attention and help.
Australia trips, Skippy is brilliant, but Las Vegas... And the whole thing has really shot the what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas cliché to bits, hasn't it? Because now what happens in Vegas becomes a worldwide media story. It's not now just in Vegas. And I love the development of the Sun yesterday printing the picture and saying on the front cover, the picture you've already seen. It's like the opposite of news. Like, what a newspaper is meant to do is give you stuff you do not already know.
I know. We've all seen Dirty Harry by now.
I've never felt better walking past a newspaper and not buying it as I did yesterday, going, well, I already know that. And like everybody else, I've Googled Prince Harry pictures.
Al, can I just say as well?
Yeah.
The feet of the man. Giant feet. That was the thing that struck me most, which he might be disappointed to hear that. But that's all I came away thinking. Oh, there's a size 11s there.
You think? You think 11? I'm a UK 10 if any different Adidas Originals are listening.
Because there's no actual junk shots, are there? You don't actually get to see
the crown jewels.
You don't see Harry Potter anymore.
Do you think he thinks of them as the crown jewels? I wonder.
No, but we need to discuss the practicalities.
That surely would make him think of his gran. That can't be good. Anyway.
We need to discuss the practicalities of naked billiards, because I think no good can come of it, personally.
I'm in agreement. I don't think an elegant game like billiards should be brought down with nudity. The whole... Was it... who was the swimmer that was there?
Yeah, Ryan Lochte.
Ryan Lochte. I mean, it's weird. Ryan Lochte was there. He was in the pool.
There's no E on the end. I'm going to take this up with you at some point. It's Ryan Lochte.
It's Ryan Lochte. That's how they pronounce it.
There's no E. No, I don't. I won't have Lochte. That sounds like Balamori.
Lochte.
Ryan Lochte.
Alan Cochrane and Emily Dean sitting in for Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
I've already succeeded, by the way, compared to last week. I actually managed to remember this week to pull the faders down at the end of our last chats and before that song. Small victories for me.
So, it's Prince Harry in the billiard room with the candlestick. Yeah, I'm not done yet. There's a lot more I'd like to say on this subject.
Spew forth.
Firstly, there were women present playing this naked billiards game.
I think that was part of the problem, wasn't it? If not, they would just think it was like army hijinks on leave or something.
But why were they stripping? Why would you do that? I wouldn't do that, but you've got to buy me a meal if you want to see me in the bath. I'm sorry, I'm not just going to take my clothes off for nothing. So
what sort of meal are we talking about?
A really nice meal.
Not Greg's pasty and...
I've never understood, like, all that strip poker stuff. I don't understand it at all. Why would you do that? It's freezing. And I don't think that game is very conducive as well to being in the nude. I don't think it's a good thing.
Billiards?
Yeah.
It's too complicated, isn't it?
Well, it depends where the ball ends up on the table. If it's right in the middle of the table, you have to really stretch over.
Yeah.
And the game's not been going very well for you.
Yeah, that's not ideal, is it?
Yeah.
You don't want chafing after it. It all went horribly quiet in here then. I did not like that. Emily was taking a sip of tea. I think we'll just leave that there.
Did you see the hotel though? It's the sleaziest looking hotel, the Wynn Hotel. It looks like a 1980s cigarette advert.
It's the sleaziest looking hotel in Vegas. Is it really? I've never been to Vegas, but from what I've heard, that's a new benchmark
a low
of
bar.
sleaziness.
Yeah.
I got married in Vegas. That was
Awkward.
so I've got fond memories. That was a sleazy day.
By Elvis? Or?
No, we'd wanted to get married by Elvis, but it turns out it's a lot more expensive. Within our price range, I look more like Elvis than any of the Elvis impersonators we could have bought.
Excellent.
So we got married on the top of the Stratosphere Tower. So you're on the roof, and the minister says, "I pronounce you man and wife," and a reverse bungee machine fires you into the air.
Is that true?
That's completely true.
How come I didn't know this
Did
about
you not know this?
This is amazing.
The first photo that exists of us as man and wife is the one that the machine takes, like as the G-forces kick in.
Possibly not the most flattering wedding picture, is it?
I would have absolutely refused as the female of that party.
Well, somehow she looks amazing, but I'm naked with a girl I've just beaten at strip billiards in front of me. So
But do you think, on a serious note, I am interested to know what you both think of this. Do you think it was wrong? Because a lot of people have been complaining and saying that it's, he's paid really by us. Should he have been doing that?
Yeah, to be honest, I don't think my tax would cover this trip.
Wouldn't cover one of my trips.
Yeah, so I don't think I can get that upset about it.
I don't think that many people feel bad about it. I think the reason that's even an issue is because...
just that taxi driver I had the other day.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a reflection of the fact that the British papers have been beaten to it by the internet. That's the thing. So there has to be this kind of manufactured outrage by the British press to sort of suggest, because it's the only story they've got. So the Sun are trying to sort of go, we're standing up for freedom of the press by publishing it. The Daily Mail are sort of trying to go, well, it's completely unacceptable. You could almost see his baby makers. And he's 27. He's single. He's a soldier.
Yeah.
Can he get in touch?
Exactly.
I'm just saying right now he's ticking a lot of boxes for me.
It's like we stopped him as a result of the press blowing the fact that he was in Afghanistan. We prevented him being allowed to serve in Afghanistan. So we don't want him to do a job.
Steve's getting a bit heavy now.
We should allow him some fun time.
I think, I honestly thought that the person in the street thought it was more funny than a sort of a ridiculous allowance on his part. I think the hardest bit has been for the papers to decide whether or not he's a blue-blooded royal or a red-blooded male. And some of them have gone for both in the same article. He's blue-blooded and red... He's purple-blooded, Harry. Did you know that? That's quite difficult. Or mauve, depending on the mixture.
Alan Cochrane and Emily Dean sitting in for Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
Al, we were having a slight dispute about the pronunciation of the American swimmer Ryan, surname Lochte. Yes?
I claimed Lochte, but I'm sure
I said Locht, as in, yeah. So people have been tweeting us about this.
Oh, have they?
Sarah Phillips, sorry Em, but there is an E at the end.
Yeah.
Yes, but I'm suggesting it's silent. I didn't say there wasn't an E, I just said it was silent. Clive Wilson, Can't believe I'm saying this, but Emily Dean is wrong. I'm a 47-year-old bloke, and I know the E is pronounced.
Oh.
I like that his age is relevant.
Yeah. It's almost like, I've been around the block, I know how to pronounce names with E at the end. There's a sort of sage old man time quality to that tweet.
That's the kind of thing your parents say to you. I'm a 50-year-old woman and I will not be spoken to like this. So it seems I'm wrong.
Well, I think I heard the commentators say Lochte. I don't want to, like, you know...
That's okay, I'm wrong, no biggie.
But I should say I have had a strange thing this week where my wife has been laughing at how I say the word correct. Why are you all laughing?
Because you make it sound like somewhere in Poland.
She says that I don't pronounce the first syllable of it. It should be correct.
Yeah,
and
she's
I say correct. I mean, this all came to a horrible head when I was speaking to her about the Jonathan Franzen book, The Corrections, and the irony that it had to be recalled in order for them to put in some of his corrections, which happened. They had to call back the original book. Anyway, she then started laughing, and I was like, what are you laughing at? And she was saying, it's the way you say correct. I mean, we haven't had a difficulty like this since she sniggered when I was buttering toast. I mean, isn't that weird? Psychological. Apparently I don't go right to the edges. Anyway.
I like the corrections.
The corrections. That's how you say it.
You make them sound like some German family. The corrections.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I hear it now.
Yeah.
Did she play Ethel in EastEnders, Gretchen Franklin?
And she mispronounced things all the time.
Did she?
Yes, she did.
I now feel a bit worried about it. Do you...
Massive comic consequences.
I'll tell you another word that I have hesitancy about, and I've already used it on the wireless today, and I'm very proud of myself for having got it out. I said mauve. That's the right way, isn't it?
Let's go back to what you originally said.
No, because for years I called it mauve and didn't know that it was pronounced mauve. But I have lots of these words where I learn. Like, I grew up, I was Scottish originally. Underneath this accent, I have a Scottish voice in my head playing. Yeah. And so, like, banal. Do you say banal? Would you all say banal?
Yeah, what would you say?
In my head, for years, I said banal.
Oh my God, that's...
Goodness.
That's the worst thing you've ever said.
What? Banal? Why is that so bad?
I just don't like it.
Do you want to say it?
I'd like to get off the subject.
Do you want to say it, Emily? Do you want to try banal?
No. Can I tell you something that I always mispronounce? I've been doing this really embarrassing since I was about 15, and I can't get it out of my head, and that was a long time ago. I was once in a bank queue, and a man behind me, I ended up having a row with him because he thought I'd queue jumped, and he went, "Shut up, you feisty care." And so I've said feisty ever since then. But people always sort of subtly correct me and say feisty, but in a strange tribute to that man, I continue to say feisty.
That's great. If you mispronounce any words, let us know on 8, 12, 15.
Alan Cochrane and Emily Dean sitting in for Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
Can't help but think it may have technically been a mistake to make people doubt how they pronounce words whilst broadcasting to the nation.
Well, we've had Gareth tweeting in. He says, can you tweet in? I guess you can. My mum can't say the word but. She pronounces it Bert. It's most prominent when she's irate.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, that's good, because my mum, with her Scottishness, she can't say R and L next to each other properly. So someone called Carl becomes Carol. There's always an extra little syllable. So when my mum orders Earl Grey tea, it sounds like a soul singer or something. Earl Grey. Can I have Earl Grey? Anyway.
I've noticed there's a pronunciation, some people say footballer instead of footballer. And that tends to be people who've had carnal knowledge of footballers often say that.
There's a certain type that will say footballer.
Footballer.
Don't even know if I can do it. Footballer.
No.
Oh, yeah, I can.
I knew an American girl, and she wouldn't say I shudder at the thought. She would say I shudder at the thought.
Really?
Yeah, which implies if something freaks her out, she has to go to quite an old-style house, close everything up.
Oh, the worst. Okay, this guy that I once dated. Well, I say dated, I went on 2 dates with him.
That's
that was
dating,
it. Date 2, the reason it never got to 3 was because he said, do you know what I love about your sister? She's really zany. Zany.
Oh.
No. I called a cab that minute.
But the thing I like about that is that he's been through his whole life saying Zanny and no one's corrected him on it. Corrected. Did it again, didn't I? And that was not intended. I just want you to know that was me naturally speaking there. But no one's called him up on it there. Has anybody else got any weird ones? Let us know on 8, 12, 15. Frank on Absolute at Twitter. I was reading a book with my 5-year-old son the other day.
Yeah.
And a Lego storybook. Lego are into everything now.
Lovely.
They really are. And the word pizzeria came up. but it's in the book about 10 times.
It's so international now, Lego.
And I felt a bit self-conscious as the sentence was approaching it, and I got to pizzeria and had to forcibly stop myself saying pizzeria. I had to really... Cause you don't read pizzeria very often.
Well, the way you said pizzeria there implied it's an illness that happens if you eat too much pizza and you have to go to the toilet. Oh, I've got terrible pizzeria.
Well, let's have some adverts and we'll come back to this. Let us know what your words you mispronounce are on 8, 12, 15.
Alan Cochrane and Emily Dean sitting in for Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
We've been talking about mispronunciations of words, which was kick-started...
I would call that mispronunciations.
It's pronunciations. We've had a text in from 665, one of our prisoners. Not a word used very often, but the word that annoys me when said by my husband is Poseidon. He pronounces it Poseidon.
Poseidon?
The cause of much hilarity when the film comes on each year.
Oh.
And we've had one from 969 Maria who said, I once went out with a farmer who said, can we get some of those rolls with those sesame seeds on it?
Sesame.
Farmer who
I like the
can't
fact that she has to specify it's a farmer. That's an important part of the detail.
I had completely forgotten this, but I'm for a couple of summers worked for a well-known holiday camp as a redcoat. And yeah. And I'd completely forgotten that I had a chalet with, I'll be honest, quite a creepy guy called, I think his name was Derek and I deliberately called him Eric, or his name was Eric and I deliberately called him Derek, but I can't remember which. But I remember him...
Can I just ask you something?
Yeah.
About the geography of the chalet? In the chalet, are there two single beds? Are there two single beds then?
Yeah, 2 single rooms in the chalet
God,
and
that's
a bathroom.
depressing. Okay.
Yeah, we haven't even touched on the qualities of depressing that this job can entail. But he talked at great length about his mattress. I kept saying, the problem with this mattress, Alan... Which was very weird. I don't know if it's a Scottish thing. Maybe a lot of... Because for years, I pronounced what I would now say as yoghurt as yogurt.
Oh, that's American, isn't it?
Well, it sounds a bit like an American saying hello to a friend called Gertrude, doesn't it? But it's quite common in Scotland, I think, yogurt. Yogurt.
I like sort of minor mistakes, like Alex has just texted in to say, up until I was 15, I thought available was spelled evadable. I still contend it sounds better with a D.
Evadable?
Yeah.
That sounds like evadable, though.
Let's try it out.
Yeah.
Yep, I'm evadable. I like it.
Yeah, it makes me want to dodge you, though. Like it makes it evadable. Anyway.
When I was a nice little altar server, I used to think that the Hail Mary, I used to think it was the fruit of thy room, Jesus. Rather than thy womb, Jesus. So I thought she had a room that Jesus just hung out in.
Oh, really? Interesting
DJ...
snapshot into Stephen's childhood there.
DJ Allo, as you were called last week.
Actually, I was called it in a different life, yes.
Yes.
About 15 years old.
We've also had some emails in.
Have we?
And you know what that means?
Shall we do a bit of...
Email corner.
I did that. I pressed that. I just want people to know that I pressed that. That makes me slick.
Well,
so
you've got a choice. You can hear one about a whippet from Milton Keynes, or one about your bed linen from Isha.
Let's go bed linen and we'll come back to the whippet from Milton Keynes.
Hi, Alan, Emily, and I'm afraid they've called you +1, Steve.
Fair enough.
Which is rude.
I'm just happy to be here.
Your name's not down, you're not coming in.
But on the plus side, you are my +1, which is good.
Crikey.
It's a lofty position to have attained, yeah.
Last week, Alan was talking about smells. Mm-hmm. And that he likes the smell of fresh bed linen, but probably wouldn't change it for about a year if it wasn't done for him.
I think I said 18 months, but I don't want to be pedantic.
When I lived in my first flat quite a few years ago, apparently, according to my girlfriend Sarah, I didn't wash my sheets and pillowcases for at least a year, and her face would be covered in dirt.
Oh.
When she got home, having stayed with him. What was he, a minor?
Exactly.
Still, she stayed with me, and we're getting married in October, so I must have done something right. Thanks. That is all. Dan from Isha.
Well done from Isha. I do like it when emails end.
Dan from Esher?
That is all. Esher?
No.
Oh, really? I believe that as well. Here's the thing, though. I stand by my claim that I would change my bedding about once every 18 months if I lived alone. But here's what I think Dan perhaps should have done, is washed the person. Because it's obvious that he's making the bedding dirty, isn't it? You know, just keep yourself clean and maybe wash a pillow every 3 months. You could wash a pillow quarterly, couldn't you?
Al, can we return to Email Corner briefly?
Hang on. Sure can.
Email Corner.
Slick that, wasn't it?
This is from Heather.
Hello, Heather.
She's from Milton Keynes.
Hello, Milton Keynes.
She says hello. She then says, a few weeks back, Alan mentioned that he took his Whippet running with him, and I was intrigued by this, as my Whippet Sophie is the laziest dog on earth and recoils in horror when I mention the word walkies, let alone if I took her running. Sophie will have a mad 20 minutes a day where she spins round on the spot, don't we all? Then sprints through the house and garden like a loon, and she will then collapse back in a coma under the nearest blanket.
Oh, yeah.
She would be quite content staying in bed for 23 hours of the day if I let her. I was interested if this is usual for Whippets or if I just have an idle one. Heather?
Well, this appeals to me on so many levels in that I love a texting. So there's a bit of me that's hoping this now becomes a how does your Whippet behave texting? But that's probably too banal for our listeners. But I mean they're not a high maintenance dog. They really don't like. I do have to drag ours out for a run, but once they're out, aren't they? I would suggest to is it Heather?
It's Heather.
I would suggest to Heather that bit where her dog is running around like a maniac for 20 seconds, that is her needing exercise, and that might be the time to let off a little bit of steam. But you know, they're quite reluctant to it, but they're ace. They're really good. Our dog was in a dog hotel last week when we were away.
Oh, lovely.
You know, I was moaning about my trip to the Cotswolds.
Yes, I do recall.
The dog had a better time. The dog went to a dog hotel that had underfloor heating and a plasma screen TV and a 4-poster bed.
The one thing I do admire about Whippets is their body fat ratio.
Oh, yeah.
Lean.
Great.
Lean's not even in it.
And I'll tell you what does genuinely happen. Cause
size zero, those ones.
I've been talking about this in my little stand-up act, is that when you're in the park with a Whippet, sometimes people will lean in and almost conspiratorially say to you, don't let her get fat, will you? They don't suit getting fat, Whippets.
That's what they've said to boyfriends of mine in the past.
I said it the other day to a man who had his daughter with him, and apparently it's inappropriate. Apparently the rule only is Whippets.
You're listening to Alan Cochrane and Emily Dean. Who the hell are they? Where's Frank Skinner? He's off. Absolute Radio.
Good morning, you're listening to Absolute Radio. It's the top of the hour, so this is when I announce that you can text us on 8 12 15. You can follow us on Twitter using Frank on Absolute. That is because this is the Frank Skinner show, but without Frank Skinner. We don't know where he is, actually. He was last seen putting an ice pick, a crucifix and some garlic in a bag, and he wandered off muttering something about speaking the only language Catherine Jenkins understands. I don't really know what... Anyway, I'm Alan Cochrane. I'm in for Frank Skinner, as they say, in the world of broadcasting. I'm joined by the wonderful Emily Dean and Steve Hall. So there, that's...
I like that the lady gets wonderful.
That's all my house duties out the way, isn't it? Well, it's awkward, isn't it? Because if I say the wonderful and I give you an adjective, it might be creepy.
Yeah.
That wouldn't be nice.
We've shared a flat in Edinburgh too many times. It would be the barely tolerable Steve.
Over familiar. The has no breaks on sentences. There we go. Yeah.
We've had some texts in on 8, 12, 15.
Oh, that's nice, isn't it?
Now,
Slick.
We've had a response to your... Well, we had a text about whippets earlier.
Yes.
It was an email, actually. These things happen. We hear about whippets on this show. Bob says, I love the whippet bit.
Good.
He says more than that. He says, the short answer to exercise is have 2. We had 5 at one point. They then chase each other around.
Oh, yeah.
Then you can be the one curled up under the duvet. That's Bob the log. Thank you, Bob.
And do you know what? 5 whippets chasing each other around must be a joyful sight to behold, because they are such good creatures in full tilt. They really are. It's like a nature documentary or something. They're really quick. Really quick. And in fact, they're so quick, some irresponsible YouTube people have driven their cars at 35 miles an hour while the whippet is running alongside it.
I like the idea that that's a sort of nationality, being a YouTube person.
Yes, exactly. But yeah, 5. We're not allowed to. We've already got too many things to deal with in the house. But yeah, great creatures.
We've also been talking about mispronunciations.
Can I just say for the record, I am very pleased that my wish came true, that it would be a text in about your whippets. This is not common commercial radio, I don't think. What was the other text that you said?
About mispronunciations.
Oh, yeah. This is about me saying the word correct, and it should be correct.
No, it's not. This is from someone who says, this is from 611. I used to work in House of Fraser, and it annoyed me how people called it House of Frasier.
Oh, yeah. Well, I once met somebody who worked for HMV, and they said, I work for HMV. And you think, that must, for the rest of your colleagues, be a really annoying thing, that they're hearing that maybe 25, 35 times a day.
That's unacceptable.
Yeah. Hello.
Totally unacceptable.
HMV here. Oh,
that's what Super Nanny says. Unacceptable.
Yeah.
Super Nanny does.
Yeah, have you not heard that? She says that is unacceptable behaviour. And it's her catchphrase.
Oh.
So she mispronounces it quite a lot.
Do you know, in the northwest of England where I live, some adults say bockle instead of bottle. And,
do they?
Yeah, I think they think it's cute, but I see it as mental impairment. I don't think it's attractive.
My friend Mary at university, she used to get really in people's faces because she insisted that the pronunciation was David Duchovny.
Really?
Rather than David Duchovny. She got really like borderline violence, calling people out, it's David Duchovny.
Well, I got in trouble on this show because I pronounced the dog, I called it a Weimaraner, and apparently it's Weimaraner. And Frank, I mean, I think lambast was the word, wasn't it?
He lambasted you.
It wasn't my fault. He knows more. I'm not as dog literate as him. He was raised with them. He knows about them.
He was raised with dogs. I hope he's not listening.
I just mean I didn't have them as a child. I didn't mean he was brought up by
Me neither, actually. This is all learned behaviour. I didn't realise that whippets were one thing.
He knows his dogs.
Weimaraner. Is it Weimaraner or Weimaraner?
I don't know. Frank is the wise old sage. He said it was Weimaraner. Text in, Frank, if you're listening, 8 12 15. We love you.
Great.
Alan Cochrane and Emily Dean sitting in for Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
Cupcake time.
Not for me.
Well, we should just say that, actually, I think in previous shows we've had texts in saying it makes me so angry hearing people eat on the radio. It is something we're occasionally guilty of.
It makes me angry hearing it in the studio this morning.
Steve has got a birthday coming up, so there's some cupcakes have arrived. So happy birthday, Steve.
Thank you very much.
And
happy
actually,
birthday.
while we're on the subject, happy birthday to my youngest brother today.
Lovely.
Should perhaps have done that before, shouldn't I? And happy birthday to my wife for Tuesday. Oh, God, it's an expensive month, isn't it, August?
I love that that's how you
birthday-wise.
view birthdays. That's so cockerel.
When they come in a
Oh,
cluster
God,
like
it's an
this,
expensive month.
there are a lot of them in August, though, aren't there? Anyway,
But-
The results
Birthdays.
of December fumbles, is that what
I think
you're
that's exactly what it is. You know, it's
Oh,
a bit of,
filthy creeps.
bit of port at Christmas, isn't it?
Oh, God. Christmas creeps on the prowl. Nothing worse.
Well, it's a different generation that you're talking about, you know. Anyway.
So, Al,
happy
I
birthday.
will not be indulging
I thought you were going to say imbibing. Is that going to be one of those people that just gets the wrong word?
Ethel from EastEnders. I will not be indulging. Those cupcakes there, they're my kryptonite right now.
Uh-oh.
They're my greatest enemy because I have recently embarked on a diet, guys. Now, I don't recommend irresponsible dieting. That would be wrong. However, I have just started on this diet. It's called 6 weeks till OMG.
Right. It sounds really responsible, right?
No, but the idea being that in 6 weeks you'll all be saying OMG when you see me.
Oh, is that what it is?
I think so. And afterwards it says get skinnier than all your friends, which is less responsible, I think. However, every cloud.
Well, particularly if you work in fashion, you
Yeah.
do not want to be skinnier than all your friends. That would be
No.
dangerous, surely.
But it's, you see, I just thought, I just felt, you know, someone's spitting out a cupcake as I'm talking about my diet. No, I think curvy's fine, but, you know, we don't want things to slide. So I've been very disciplined. There are certain rules to follow. There's a lot of rules to follow.
Yeah, talk us through the rules.
Okay, black coffee in the morning, that's pretty much it.
You're not allowed it, or you are?
No, that's all you're allowed.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then you start having, so you leave it until you have your breakfast, until a lot later. So the black coffee, on the plus side, I think what it does is the idea being that you'll burn all that body fat up when you wake up, and the black coffee will boost your metabolism.
Right.
On the minus side, I'm mental
Yeah.
and a nightmare to be around, and kind of friendless right now.
Yeah, well, I can't imagine it helps the breath much.
No, how dare you?
Is that why it's 6 weeks till OMG? It's 6 weeks till your friends go, OMG, you've got to stop. You're really damaging yourself. We're going to smash your face in.
So there's that.
So you start the day with a black coffee,
Yeah.
and then later on you have some breakfast. But are you allowed a proper breakfast later on?
Well,
or do you have to have some
really,
weird-
carbs are the enemy. So I've been having a lot of yogurt. It's a bit world's strongest man what I'm eating. Lots of chicken, bacon, really nice. But the key thing to this is also, when you are going to have carbs, because sometimes you will have to have carbs, make sure it's no bigger than an iPhone. Make sure your portion is no bigger than an iPhone.
Is that what they say?
Yes.
Bigger
It's very
they're
much
using the iPhone.
It establishes what level of class it's established. It's a very
It really
middle class
does.
thing that's being aimed at.
When they used to do things the size of, it used to be a pack of cards or a wallet, didn't it? And now it's the iPhone. This is progress, apparently. Can we come back to this? Or
Well, yeah, because we need to talk about the cold baths.
well, there's a cliffhanger for you.
Alan Cochrane and Emily Dean sitting in for Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
Would you like to know more about my diet, 6 weeks to OMG?
Yeah, or 1 week to ANNOYING.
I don't. What is that?
Okay.
So we've established so far it's coffee and cold baths. That's
Yeah,
the-
you were going to tell us about the cold baths.
Oh, they're cold. I mean, they're meant to be 15 to 20 degrees
The bath.
Celsius. Yeah.
It sounds fiddly, though. Do you need a
Yes.
thermometer?
Yes.
You have to actually...
You don't invest, you don't get back. So
That sounds like a really good catchphrase for someone that's trying to sell you stuff.
yeah, so you buy a thermometer. I can't really be bothered with all that, so I just judge it roughly. But you have to. I think with the cold baths, I've been cheating a little bit.
Right.
So I've been having cold-ish showers.
And how does that work? What does a cold bath do? Is it meant to shock your body
raises
into
your-
burning fat or something?
Exactly.
Oh, really?
It raises your metabolic rate. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Metabolism. You
Yeah.
hesitated then as if you were
Well, I
going to
was going to
mispronounce
say
the word.
yes. I thought I was.
Metabolism.
And I didn't think this would be the show to do it.
No.
So yeah, so it's the only thing also that I'm finding difficult is the blowing up of balloons constantly.
What?
Yeah.
Are you having a party?
No.
Is it 6 weeks to your party?
Is that because you end up so skinny you might break your bones, so you have to have a very heavily padded house?
The idea behind it, no, but that's a great idea, is that it works your abdominal muscles.
Blowing up balloons?
Yeah, it's 20 balloons every other day, but that's a lot of balloons.
20 every other day?
Yeah.
All right, so you have a rest day, like your weight training or something. Oh, goodness.
Mummy, the clown's really scaring me.
He's got his six-pack out.
Just necked a coffee and shouted at me.
And you're meant to move around a bit as well. So it's not, you're meant to exercise as well. But, I mean, you know what? I'll see how I go. I did resist those cupcakes.
Yeah,
The main
you've
thing
done
is
very
carbs. I think the avoidance of carbs.
But is it all carbs, or is it like... Are they
No, you're
good and
allowed
bad
small
carbs?
amounts. Just get your iPhone out and measure it with your iPhone.
But like if... Surely you're allowed like sweet potato instead of potato. That's fine, isn't it?
Potato? Get out of town!
No, but instead of potato, sweet potatoes.
As long as it's no bigger than an iPhone. I've told you.
Goodness me.
That is the weirdest app they've ever launched. It's just the phone itself.
Yeah, exactly. Measure your carb intake app. And it's just like a case with a little...
Well, you'll all
roller thing
see,
on the
in
back.
5 weeks, you'll all be laughing on the other side of your face.
Exactly, yeah.
And I have no face left.
Am
And
I
that'll
right-
be a good day for me.
Am I right in thinking the bloke who came up with this, I've been reading up in the break, and his name, the bloke who invented this diet, is called Venice A. Fulton.
Yes,
I
correct.
wouldn't, you wouldn't. Would you
Correct.
trust a man
Correct.
named
Correct.
that with your health?
No, I wouldn't. But
Obviously, he needs the initial because there are so many other Venice Fultons around. He needs to be the
Are you
Venice A. Fulton.
suggesting he sounds like some sort of lap dancer?
there were too many Venice Fultons
Venice
on...
A. Fulton. It sounds like a sofa.
Yes.
Too many Venice Fultons on Amazon, and he had to go, hang on, people are going to buy the others. They're going to buy pacey thrillers instead of my diet book. My brother went onto a thing called the keto diet, or keto diet.
Oh, that's ketosis, yeah.
Yeah, the keto diet.
That's
For a
low
little
carb
while,
as well.
I thought it was every time he sat down to a meal, a small Chinese man came out and attacked him. And so the exercise and the fact that he wasn't eating created what they call a calorie deficit. But it wasn't. It turned out it was the ketosis that you were speaking about. Where's that song gone?
Al, I'm getting quite a bad hanger now, so I'm just warning.
Do you want a cupcake?
Alan Cochrane and Emily Dean sitting in for Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
I must admit, on the subject of your diet, whenever I see a massive person, like a really huge one, and there was one sat next to me on the train yesterday, properly overlapping, and I never think this person needs more black coffee and cold baths. I never do that.
Why not? Well, that's all I think.
Because I don't think it's... I think what I think is this person needs less food and more exercise for a long period of time.
That's true.
It's all about the calorie deficit, isn't it?
You might be thinking this person is actively taking a chance if they get into a bath.
I had a go at that paleo diet where you eat food that would have existed during the caveman era.
Oh.
I liked it so much
Did
that
you
I
put a
wanted to...
loincloth on as well?
I wanted to roll it out into the rest of my life and adopt sort of caveman's moral values and sense of sexual equality. That was part of the problem.
You did some cracking cave paintings, though.
Exactly, yeah. What else? What else?
Wow.
I sound like Frank then, didn't I?
You do. and I liked it, KTP style. I'd like to talk about Tom Cruise.
Oh, wouldn't we all? Wouldn't we all?
Yes, but unfortunately his lawyers are watching. However, we can talk about the fact that Tom is over here currently. Lock up your daughters. I said daughters. So paranoid.
Can you be sued for laughter? For sarcastic laughter?
I'm feeling tense, even at the conversation.
I'm a huge fan of his.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
He's good, isn't he? He's good at it.
I'm just saying I'm a huge fan of his, so make of that what you will. So Tom went for a cuzzer with his mates.
A what?
A cuzzer.
Is that a cuddle?
Yeah, it's a curry. I said with his mates.
Yeah,
He went for
that's my concern.
He went for a curry, Alan, with his friends. But there was a bit of a problem. I mean, I think that's quite.
Did they not have a high chair?
No.
Was that the problem?
No, he was caught short, though, funnily enough. because he had, and I went to pay. It was £220.
Yeah.
He had an Amex, Natch. He had US dollars.
Oh, no.
He had no UK pounds.
Oh, Tom.
So his friend had to pay, but on the plus side, gave a £79 tip for a
Wow.
£220 bill. What's that? What percentage of tip is that, Alan?
Oh, I don't know, but it's good. It's a good tip. Let's work it out.
Alan Cochrane and Emily Dean sitting in for Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
So I've been doing some back-of-the-envelope maths, and £220 and 15 pence. I think if they were going for 10%, that would be about 22 quid,
So they left.
wouldn't it?
Oh my God!
I really enjoyed that moment where you all looked at me as if that was in any way impressive. But really, I mean, if they were going for 10%, they could have
Sorry,
gone 22
why would you
quid.
be going for 10% if you were
Well,
leaving a tip?
Well, all right. For basic arithmetic
15.
reasons, you
Always.
always leave 15.
Yes.
And of course, they've got the American thing, so they would automatically expect 15, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
So maybe he thought I could round it up to 250, and then he thought, no, Tom's going to pay me it back. I'll go to the full 300. Do you think?
I don't know. I think they just handed over and they thought, what are these, like, orange ones? Do you want those? And I think they just gave £50.
Right.
And that was
Yeah,
it.
so it's 300 that they paid. Good night for the restaurant owner.
But Tom's probably had a word with him and sort of say, give him a big tip because I've looked a bit of a fool with the Amex mess up.
Give him a big
It's
tip because
embarrassing.
I did throw my cutlery at the table behind.
I want. He's thinking. I want. If
Pulled my bib off.
Katie reads this,
Yeah.
she needs to know what she's missing out on.
I want her to know that I am dining out on the money I am saving by not having to pay.
I
her
hate-
That's right. The ex-wife. We had a lobster curry in St Albans.
That was a
tomorrow,
weird thing.
Harpenden.
That was a
Lobster
weird-
he had.
Apparently, he said, "Oh, bring me whatever you like to the restaurant owner, and bring me the lobster. I've heard that's really good." Now, I don't want to accuse the restaurant owner of lying, but isn't St Albans miles from any coast? It's inland,
Yeah.
isn't it? It's not like, oh, go to St Albans and have the lobster. I reckon that restaurant owner has got a job lot on lobster that's on the turn, and he's gone, hang on, Tom Cruise has been, why don't I tell the world that he'd heard about how good my lobster was? Nonsense.
St Albans is very near to where I grew up, so he
Is it?
should have got in touch.
Have you heard about the lobster at this
I
place?
have. He could have had a drink in the Horn of Plenty.
Is that
so it's a genuine pub?
I don't think that would have been a good idea.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
Do you know,
as PR mistakes go, Tom Cruise in a pub with the word horn in it is probably...
I don't
Is it a
like-
gentleman's bar?
That's a music pub.
Oh, is it?
It's,
Okay, good.
Despite what it sounds like.
Okay.
We once saw someone. Do you remember we were having a Chinese once, late night Chinese in London, and we noticed that we were sat opposite the Saturdays.
Oh, yeah, I had completely forgotten that until now. I think I've also had Chinese where Hardeep Singh Kohli was in the same Chinese restaurant as me.
Wow.
I was once in a curry house.
That was withering, Emily. That was withering.
I just said wow.
That wow sounded so underwhelmed.
Oh, I didn't mean it to be. I'm sorry. I was about to tell my Ian Lavender story, but as you were.
Who's Ian Lavender?
In Dad's Army.
That doesn't give me much confidence in the anecdote,
Oh, I'm sorry.
frankly.
I never
But-
really watched Dad's
No,
Army,
Frank
sorry.
and I were very excited. We saw Ian Lavender. We were with the radio family, actually, and we saw him not far from here, and he was going into a restaurant, and he fell over, unfortunately. It was awful.
Oh, no.
It went from, oh, isn't that exciting? And, oh, God. He played Private Pike in Dad's Army.
Oh, I've heard of him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. We've seen
And
him.
he tried to romance Wendy Richard in EastEnders in later years.
He was the only thing he was romancing was the pavement, honey, when we saw him.
To each his own.
Exactly. Yeah. I do feel a bit worried for the restaurant owner of the Tom Cruise place.
And because the house.
Yeah, exactly, the curry house, because normally if you meet like a super famous celebrity, people say, oh, you'll dine out on that story forever, but he probably doesn't dine out a lot, does he? He's going to dine in, because presumably he's always in the restaurant, isn't he? I once went into the cafe round the corner from me, and it doesn't happen very often, but I've occasionally popped up on panel games and Dave and that sort of thing, so every now and again I'll get recognised, and you can see people look at you in that way that you know that. And there was a couple in there who looked at me as if they'd recognised me, and the only other person in the cafe was a guy who's off Coronation Street. So he and I looked at each other. I sat down to order my breakfast, and then the very next customer that walked in was Bez. It must have been quite a weird moment for this couple, the sort of civilians in the cafe going, how weird is this? Is this Stella Street or something? Anyway.
Well, this is quite an interesting celebrity sighting. This is from 031. We were leaving this building when this girl with our group spotted William Shatner having coffee in the coffee bar and went over to get his autograph. William Shatner was so annoyed at her interruption of his meal, he took her marker pen and signed her forehead. She spent the day walking around with his autograph scored across her forehead.
Good for him.
Nice work, Shatner.
I like your Christian Bale, good for him. Excellent.
Daisy, the producer, looks horrified at this William Shatner's gone mad story. Do you think his medication had kicked in or something?
What an extraordinary thing to do.
I once properly humiliated myself. That I got so there was
just the one.
Yeah, the only time ever. We walked into it was a group of people I didn't know that well, and I got really excited. I sort of went, I'm not being funny, but I think that over there, that's definitely the bloke that played Gaunch in Grange Hill. And I remember it's John McMahon. And this guy went to me and went, yeah, he's my boyfriend. And I hadn't known that he was part of the group we were meeting.
Oh, really?
Imagine dating Gaunch. Extraordinary.
Lovely bloke. Lovely bloke. Because I grew up in Boreham Wood, where they used to film Grange Hill, so we had a half-hour chat about the old Wimpy.
Oh.
As opposed to the excellent lobster that was available in St Albans area.
Slightly lower.
Can I just say, to the baked goods company who have just sent in some very fattening cookies, thanks a lot. And you know, it says on your boxes, ideal for lunch boxes, not if you want to look OMG in 6 weeks. It's not.
If anyone is listening who can send in a cold bath, Emily would be very grateful.
Yeah, black coffee, thank you.
You're listening to Alan Cochrane and Emily Dean. Who the hell are they? Where's Frank Skinner? He's off. Absolute Radio.
Morning. You're listening to Absolute Radio. You can text us on 81215. You can follow us on Twitter using @FrankOnAbsolute. This is indeed the Frank Skinner Show. I'm Alan Cochrane. Frank is away. We thought he was on holiday, but it turns out he's dressed head to foot in lycra, got on his bike, and he's going to complete the tour, but clean. He says, I'll show them it can be done.
He's going to race clean, wow.
He's going to race clean, yeah. Do you work clean? I was asked that by an American comedian, because they have different terminology, and if you're not a dirty comic, they say, do you work clean? Do you work clean, Alan? And I said, yes, sometimes. So that's that. Yes, Frank is away.
So you've been saving money this week. I heard a rumour.
I may have just admitted that I've been feeling guilty because my little boy has recently turned 5, but
lovely.
We've still been getting him into days out and swimming as a 4-year-old because it's free.
Oh, Alan, that's low, man.
I don't have a problem with. I think it's good parenting in many ways. In a world of fiscal...
You're teaching him duplicity.
We are, yeah. But in a world of fiscal irresponsibility, he needs to learn small cost-saving measures as early as possible. You've seen what's gone on. Look at Greece. That's what I said to him. I said, look at Greece.
You've been making him get his round in at the pub. That seems a bit harsh.
Well, it's time, isn't it? It's not before time. The number of crisps he's had off me. No, this culminated when we were away in the Cotswolds and we're standing outside some Rococo garden or something that we were about to pay a small fortune to all get into. And he went, but I'm 5 now, at the top of his voice. And like a character from a sitcom, I went, don't say that again today. From now on, if anybody asks, you're 4, okay?
To be fair, I've been operating on that principle all my adult life. Knocking at least a year off.
He's probably fine with it. He'll adapt very well into show business, won't he? Where
it's funny you should say that, because my gay Australian godfather... I know that's a lot to take on.
I already like this story.
It's a great sitcom pitch.
Yes.
Who's an impresario. He's a theatrical producer, and he used to take me and my sister when we were kids, but he used to want to pay the school party rate because it's much cheaper. So he'd turn around to us and go, "Now, girls, where's the rest of the class? Have they ran off again?" And we just have to go, "Oh yeah, we don't know where they are." Terrible, making us lie.
That's brilliant. That's like people on planes saying that they've just got engaged in the hope of an upgrade or some champagne, isn't it? Doesn't happen.
Did you feel guilty, though? Did you feel...
I felt slightly guilty, but this is...
Diminishing your son's age, like he's Russell Kane or something like that.
Exactly, yeah. I'm sure he started older than me. I'm sure he was older than me at the start of his career.
He's the Benjamin Button of comedy.
Everyone else in the studio looks horrified at this revelation, but, you know, he's got a picture of himself withering in an attic somewhere, because he started out older than me, and now I think he's 31, apparently. Anyway, but no, I do have an ability to feel guilty about very small things. I think mainly because I'm not particularly naughty, really.
No.
I just feel like sometimes when I pay the people round the corner to wash the car, and they really scrub it, and I think I wouldn't do this for 15 quid. You're really going at it, and then I remember, hang on, this is a service that they happily advertise and fulfil. So just stop it. Just stop feeling guilty, Alan. And by the way, the irony of Frank Skinner, a public Roman Catholic being away as we talk about guilt, is not entirely lost on me. We'll come back to this, I'm sure.
Alan Cochrane and Emily Dean sitting in for Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
I mean, they seem happy whilst they're washing the car. I don't see why I'm getting angsty about it. But it is, you know.
You feel that's a sort of middle-class guilt thing, isn't it?
Well, I'm being accepted gradually by the middle classes. I'm still something of a parvenu.
Oh no, we've taken you on board.
Oh, good.
We're fine with you.
Thanks very much.
Do you know what I feel a bit guilty about? It does happen. I experience guilt.
Good.
If I'm on the tube, that also happens sometimes, Steve. And you know when someone's got a rucksack, it makes me really upset. It's a kind of the space invasion thing, just because that takes up the space of about 3 normal people, I think, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were going to say, when you say rucksack, I thought you were...
Yeah, I thought there was a terrorism story.
No, I just mean, I can't, it's normally ladies, actually, with all their gym equipment, and it gets me so angry. It's like, put it down on the floor. So do you know what I do? I know this is awful, but I push myself into them a little bit, just to assert my territory.
Oh, yeah, you definitely have to do a bit of that on the tube, don't you?
But I sometimes kick them as well. Is that not so normal?
That's less common.
Yeah.
Okay.
But with all the balloons you've been blowing up as well, it gets quite awkward.
You must be exhausted. It's like a cardio workout for you. I've blown up 20 balloons and kicked 7 people on the Northern Line.
You said to me, Alan said, are you tired? He's worried about me, I think. We have had some dieting tips in 48 hours of rice and water, try it hot, then eat what you like for the other 5 days, from Steve in Cornwall. I don't know if I would recommend that.
Yeah, surely, I know it's boring to continually return to, surely balance is better. I mean, 48 hours of rice and water, you're not torturing yourself, are you?
Alan?
Yes.
I know we're not meant to have our phones on in the studio.
Okay.
But I'm afraid I did.
Okay.
And a really good friend of mine, Joel, has just texted me to
Hi,
say,
Joel.
I'm sat in my car having it washed right now. Me and the man washing the car are listening to you.
How's he enjoying it? I wonder. I also occasionally get really guilty if... I got really, really guilty earlier this year. We had some builders do some work on our cellar ceiling, but it had been there for like 120 years or something. So when they pulled it down, it was so dirty and disgusting that they were coming
Was it worse than your sheets?
They were, yeah, much worse. They were coming up the stairs like miners, properly, like, it was horrifying, honestly. And my way of dealing with my guilt was to constantly offer them tea and coffee. I mean, every 30 seconds I was shouting down into the cellar, do you want a tea or a coffee, lads? A hobnob, anything? Anything I can get you? Whilst you do a disgusting job for a 10-day period in my cellar. Horrible. Yeah.
Can I ask where you two stand on, if you're in a shop and you're buying clothes, I'm assuming that you do that.
That does happen.
And something falls off the hanger, You see, I think if you don't hear it, it didn't happen. It's like the tree in the woods. Do you know what I mean?
I love it when this show tiptoes into philosophy as well.
With a fashion slant.
Exactly, yeah.
So I just normally, if someone sees it or hears it, then I obviously replace it back on the hanger. Otherwise, just leave it.
I'll be honest, I have a calibre of shop rule where, you know, if it's your Primani or your TK level, I think what goes on the floor stays on the floor. But if you're
A bit like Vegas.
if you're in a really good shop, then you tidy up after yourself, though. Isn't that the rule?
A bit like Vegas.
Again, a bit like Vegas.
Alan Cochrane and Emily Dean sitting in for Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
The problem with guilt is that the people that feel it are sometimes the people that need it least. And then you see people and think, oh, you really ought to feel terrible about yourself, and you clearly don't. That's what I think, anyway, for what it's worth. It's my tuppence worth.
I've got a double whammy of guilt because I was baptised and raised Roman Catholic, but I am racially of the Semitic persuasion. So I'm both Catholic and Jewish in equal measure.
That was a remarkably elegant sentence for commercial radio. There's probably people in their cars now thinking they're on a documentary on Radio 4.
So life must be, there's a lot of minefields.
Yeah, it's
guilt minefields.
It's horrendous, and it's often particularly towards the wife. That's since getting married, I feel
love the
you even got a northern slant on it with the wife.
Exactly, the wife.
So I when we were on holiday, I got fed up of us not working our way through our box sets, and so I started The Wire without her.
Oh no!
And got busted. 7 episodes into, this is when we were on holiday, she saw me just...
You got busted, what, as a box set? Is that like a CD?
But she acted and she cried. She was very upset.
She wept. She openly wept
because it had been sold to us as it's the best. It's one of the best shows ever, and indeed it's great. I've seen 7 episodes of it. She hasn't seen any. So.
You've got a head start on her there.
But can I ask you, Steve? Can we establish here? I like to get the facts in all their proper order. Did you watch those 7 with her, pretending that you hadn't seen them? Or did you just crack under interrogation?
No, she came down late at night. To see me watching it. She normally sleeps through.
She caught you wired.
Yeah.
The Wire, rather.
I love that you were caught in the middle of the night watching that.
Yeah. I tried to put some pornography up to hide it. But,
he's downstairs watching a gritty cop drama. Oh, really? That's awkward, because that is one of the joys of relationships, isn't it? Is sitting watching box sets. So you've...
Is it?
I mean, it's quite
I'll hang on a bit longer then. That's really one of the joys.
It is. I think it is.
Can't wait.
Maybe it's because I work away a lot that I like that. I like that sort of put your tracky bottoms on and watch a box set time.
Wow.
I'm a man of humble tastes.
You've been on the caveman diet. That's how humble you are.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, they didn't have DVDs, so I don't know if that was allowed at the time.
What did they do in their relationships then? Argued about the paintings.
Yeah, I think the man just clubbed the wife, and that was how they dealt with their problem. I don't think they had counselling sessions or anything. They just got on with it. I stand by that. That sweet time in the house when the kids are in bed watching the DVD. It's lovely. Oh, I'm being looked at like. Oh, that's not fair.
Alan Cochrane and Emily Dean sitting in for Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
I stand by it. If my wife is listening, for me, a lot of this wonderful relationship is about the companionship. Stand by that. It's a lovely thing.
Your wife's not listening.
Yeah, exactly. She's not. I'm
She's
almost certain she's not listening.
She's hanging out with Bez and that bloke from Coronation Street.
Exactly, yeah.
Pulled an all-nighter.
I occasionally have a moment of guilt when I'm overtaking, as a pedestrian, the elderly or infirm.
Oh,
I
yes.
just think, oh, God, I've got to walk past them looking all sort of...
Business like an angry.
Youthful and sort of physically fine. And they're just there hobbling. I mean, I don't stop and assist them. I just go, I carry on.
I just go up to them, I hiss amateurs, and then I whiz past them.
Did I ever tell you about the guiltiest I ever felt with my good lady wife?
Is it broadcastable?
It is the way I'm going to tell it.
Okay.
I'm going to change it so that I'm going to.
Okay, keep it daytime.
I'm going to keep it daytime. We got iced in coming back from Australia. My wife's a lovely Australian lady, and we got iced in Singapore. So we got stuck in Singapore for 2 days when they closed Heathrow, and we were very, very bored because Singapore is essentially just a container port. So it's like 2 days in Felixstowe or something like that. So we were really, really bored. And it was just before Christmas. And so I was so bored, and I was going, what can I do? I'm going insane. I'm so bored. And the wife said, well, I'll give you an option. You can either open your Christmas present from her sister, or we can have some husband and wife fun time.
Oh, lovely.
That's I've made it daytime. I've made it breakfast.
Does that mean watching box sets?
Yeah. In a manner of speaking. And so I naturally chose the husband and wife fun time, and enjoyed. And then the very second I'd finished my part of the husband and wife fun time, I leant over to the Christmas present and opened the Christmas present straight away.
Oh, greedy!
Oh. God.
And does that haunt you?
It does. The guilt I feel and genuine pride at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you know you've been scrimping this week? No, you have. You told us about the garden centre in there.
You were scrimming the week before, and you've been scrimping this week.
Steve,
yes, I misheard you slightly.
Steve, on the other hand, has been shelling out.
I've spent a ridiculous amount of money, over £100. Simply on
a curry in St Albans.
I gave a £2,000 tip to Sarah Carson. I spent over £100 on anti-snoring strips for me and my wife.
Really?
Because we both snore. I'm a mouth breather, so I don't snore, but I kind of do
Kanye West life
kind of noise. And whereas my wife, it's one of the reasons I'm punching way above my weight with my wife, and the reason is that she's incredibly beautiful, but she snores just like a warthog with a cold. It's properly horrific. And so there have been lots of blokes who... Well, not lots of blokes. She's a very dignified lady.
That's a lovely tribute.
There were
tempting to help you dig out of this hole, but I think I'll just leave you to it.
There were an acceptable number of men in the past who I'm sure have kind of gone, oh, she's amazing, what's the catch? And then they've heard.
Is this like that film? What's the film?
Four Weddings.
Four Weddings, yeah.
So we both wear these anti-snoring strips. They are very expensive.
Are they like the Robbie Fowler ones?
Yeah, that's.
Do you dream you're like Robbie Fowler?
Well, because we do it before we get into bed. Sometimes we have husband and wife fun time after we put the snoring strips on. So I now get aroused by pictures of Robbie Fowler in the 90s, or if I see a horse race with a horse with a sheepskin noseband, really sends me into happy time.
Adamant.
It is. It's like a bad Adamant tribute band. But she snores so badly. Sometimes she wears two to try and make it less bad. And she back in Australia, she had a study done. It was like a doctor investigating snoring, and even though this was his specialist subject, he analysed her snoring and went, "You really snore disgustingly."
Was she responsible for a study being commissioned?
Pretty much.
That.
It's like sleeping next to a pneumatic drill sometimes.
Wow.
I love her very much.
You must. That's incredible levels of snoring.
But most men over, I'd say about the age of 30, snore.
Right.
I would say.
Have you tested most men over the age of 30?
Pretty much.
That's a very specific Guardian soulmate.
No, I think when it starts is about 30. Yeah. That's when they start, and that's when you start thinking, hang on, I didn't buy into this. I think they should flag it up, snorers. They need to wear, like, something, a badge lapel or something.
Yeah.
I want to know if I'm going to have to put up with that. I go to bed with Ryan Gosling, wake up with Patrick Moore. No.
Oh, that would be awful. What a night that would be.
Was I really drunk last night?
Exactly. The beer goggles were on. I thought he looked like Gosling. I think it's weird, though, because you're right. Your wife, to look at, and I know her, she does not look like a snorer. She doesn't. You know, some people you think, I bet they snore.
Yes.
You know, I can't imagine how much money Bob Geldof has spent on those strips that you're talking about. Ray Winston, he must have gone through
massive snorer,
hundreds of pounds. Whereas Barack Obama, I bet you could sleep next to him and not hear a peep.
He doesn't look like a snorer.
I bet he doesn't even breathe when he's asleep.
Gordon Brown, huge snorer.
I bet he's a snorer.
Oh no, I can confirm he is.
He's a man over 30 and you've done your research.
Alun Alan Cochrane and Emily Dean sitting in for Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio. What's up?
Oh, Alan.
Trying to bring it back. Small steps, but it will eventually take over again, I promise you.
Yeah, exactly. They're out there now laughing at you.
Well, isn't that job done?
Well, exactly.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
So, I have a few more snoring-based questions for known snorer Steve.
But I suppose you become less known if your wife is even more of a snorer.
Yeah,
she's Premier League and you're Vauxhall Conference.
She's the high snorer.
In old money.
You're the sort of Rushton Diamonds.
Yes.
Would you say... What, are you meant to wake snorers? Are you not allowed to?
Yeah, what's the etiquette?
I kick them.
Well, I think nominally you're supposed to just let them carry on, but I, on a regular basis, will say, can you go and sleep on the sofa, please?
Well, I do as well, but that's nothing to do with snoring.
I got an elbow in the ribs during my sleep the other night, and it was snoring related. Yeah. So it happens.
From the wife or the whippet?
No, from the wife. The whippet's fine with my snoring. Anyway, we're off, aren't we? We're off. We're done. Coming up next, it's Mark Crossley, and I suppose I should go out in the style of Mr. Frank Skinner. If the creeks don't rise and the good Lord... I've done it the wrong way around, haven't I? What is it? If the good Lord spares us and the creeks don't... Blah, 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 blah. Whatever he says, anyway. We'll see you next week.
So that's that.
So that's that.
You're listening to Alan Cochrane and Emily Dean. Who the hell are they? Where's Frank Skinner? He's off. Absolute Radio.